Welcome inside the Fortius Sport and Health Center in Burnaby, British Columbia. Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. And Sherm, today at practice, I think the key word might be, the theme might be managing. And Dwayne Casey is the guy that's managing and overseeing this whole thing. And he's got a lot of moving parts with players to integrate, coaches to teach the terminology. There's a lot of things going on. Managing time. You know what it's like in a training camp. You can get banged up at times. Dwayne Casey's got a lot on his plate.
Well, he does, and he's also trying to manage a shift in mentality, getting this team back to the defensive principles that we saw a few years ago. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I think for Dwayne Casey, the integral thing for him is to get these guys understanding that it's all going to surround defense. Right. Everybody has to buy in on that level, and you can build on that. But you're right. You've got veterans, you've got young guys. Some guys are getting a bit banged up. You've got to manage guys' bodies throughout this whole process, and understanding that it doesn't end in training camp. It doesn't end at the end of preseason. Right. It's an ongoing process, and I think the more comfortable everybody gets with each other, staff and players included, and this is what training camp is for, is the better that Dwayne Casey can get his message across. And he doesn't have to put as much time into, as we've heard in previous days, the more meticulous parts of explaining what he's trying to accomplish. So overall, yeah, there are a lot of things that are moving, to your point, but Dwayne Casey has been a guy who's been very methodical. He's been a guy who's understanding and stood in his conviction when it comes to the defensive side. And I think at this point now, it's just about getting those pieces to fall into place, and it's a process, and he's very aware of it.
Sherm, it also becomes easier to manage things when you know what you have. Right. And you talk about players in terms of consistency and roles. A guy like Luis Scola, you know what you're going to get. A guy like Damari Carroll, well, you're pretty sure you know what you're going to get with him. And then there's a guy like Terrence Ross, who's still trying to figure it out and become consistent. But if you're Dwayne Casey, it does become much easier if you know exactly what you're going to have.
Oh, absolutely. You want a roster of guys that are committed to their roles and understand who they are. You don't want guys to come in and try and recreate themselves under your watch. And Dwayne Casey has that in a few guys, and Damari Carroll, as you mentioned, Luis Scola, guys that know who they are, and they're going to bring a certain element to this franchise. And when they add things, it's going to be beneficial to the whole roster. But I think when you talk about Terrence Ross and coming off of summer surgery on that ankle, trying to find his flow, and we heard Dwayne Casey say that he had some real fall off last year in terms of being consistent on both sides of the ball. It's money time. This is time for Terrence Ross to get it going. Fourth year in the league. It's about trying to carve out your niche in the NBA, and I think for Terrence, it's about getting after it defensively. It's about a guy who's got to attack the basket, be a rebounding guard. He has all the ability to be those things. He's got to do it. And the reality for Terrence Ross is that, hey, guys are chomping at the bit. And now that you're probably going to be put on the bench and come in as a six-man role, I think that's going to alleviate some of the pressure Terrence felt in the starting lineup, and everything falls into place a bit better, I think.
All right, well, Dwayne Casey, the manager, with a lot of managing to do as training camp continues here from British Columbia. Keep it right here on Raptors.com, and we'll keep you up to date the entire time.